about Isaiah Bond, who had a lot in common with Shedeur Sanders in the NFL draft, but really also has a lot in common with Nico Iamaleava, and I'm really excited that he's getting this opportunity. Let's talk about how we got here. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football. We talk football year-round. So if you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think Isaiah Bond will stick in the NFL? Just over a week after we got to see the NFL draft go down, we're finding out that Isaiah Bond has signed with the Commanders as a receiver, as an undrafted free agent. It's a low-risk, high-reward situation, as Isaiah Bond was mocked by some as a first-round draft pick. I had him as a day 2 guy, in large part because I didn't see all that I wanted to see at Texas from him. But this is also a man that really saw his draft stock tank after he was arrested on a sexual assault allegation in Frisco, put up $25,000 bond, and is suing for defamation against his accuser and proclaiming his innocence. However, that wasn't enough to deter teams from, wanting to select him with one of their draft picks in the 2025 NFL draft. It's a player that really never reached the potential that I thought he would have in 2024. And I based that a lot on what happened November 26, 2023. If you don't know that date, it's probably because you're not an Alabama or Auburn fan. But it's probably ringing a bell for you, because that's the 4th and goal. That's Alabama down 24-20 to Auburn. It's 4th and 31 on the field, but 4th and goal is 4th and goal, right? You got to get in the end zone or nothing. 3 points is not going to help you. Auburn chose not to blitz, chose to let Jalen Milroe stand back there, and Jalen Milroe made one of the best quarterback throws that he's ever made. I say quarterback throws, meaning he's standing still, plants his feet, and he goes, as opposed to making an athletic throw on the run, to Isaiah Bond, who caught that in the back of the end zone corner, falling out of bounds. Get your 6 points. You win this game. Gravedigger is the play call, right? The catch, as it's known of. People have immortalized the catch. People have talked about the catch in ways that we talk about the kick 6, right? It's one of the great plays of the 21st century in college football. And there are those, Greg McElroy chief among them, who believe that, Isaiah Bond left so much money on the table when he chose to transfer to Texas, because the amount of people that root for Alabama who would have been all in on being associated with Isaiah Bond, name, image, and likeness, and frankly, a guy that should not have to buy anything ever if he's in Tuscaloosa, chose to leave all of that to go to Texas. The team that not only just joined the SEC, but had beaten Alabama in 2023, right? You got a Quinn Ewers that goes down there, gets a win. You see Jalen Milroe get benched in that game in Tuscaloosa. And that was the first clue that maybe it's all kind of changed for Alabama, who ended up making and winning the SEC championship game that year, it must be said, right? And they end up playing the college football playoff, coming a few feet shy of forcing an overtime against a Michigan team that ends up winning the national championship. And then we get to know that Nick Saban is not going to be coaching football anytime soon or ever again, depending on who you want to believe. And that really was also a marked point in college football, because Nick Saban has won 7 national championships. Six national championships. 2003, we get started with LSU, and then the run with Alabama. I've been thinking about this from the standpoint of where would Isaiah get signed, and if he would get signed, especially as we're watching more UFL football these days. And it's as close as we're getting to seeing football played for the next few months. We're going into what is the driest part of the off season, where teams are sending not just out their players home, but coaches are going to go on vacation for the first time in a long time, take a few days for themselves, and people are going to recharge and they're going to retool, and everybody's going to show back up here in July, and we're going to get started with the preseason all the way into August 31st. Ohio State and Texas is the biggest game of the year, non-conference so far, right? Probably because I got Ohio State, Michigan in my head, which is always a big game every year, especially in years where both teams are ranked, both teams seem to have everything that they want, and as far as the tools. We can't wait to see what Bryce Underwood is looking like. He's going to play against my Sooners in a non-conference battle later this year. So I'm looking at Isaiah Bond, and I'm asking the question of, if you're in a wide receiving core that includes Jalen Lane, Deebo Samuel, and you got the reigning NFL Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels, put together the best rookie season we've ever seen by a quarterback after putting together one of the great seasons we've ever seen by a Heisman winner. Can you make the squad? And if you can make the squad, can you contribute on that squad? And I think he can. I just think that watching Matthew Golden get selected before Isaiah Bond was not on anybody's radar before the start of the 2024 season. It just wasn't there. We thought Matthew Bond might be your second option. He might be your third option, depending on how you feel about Gunnar Helms and Ryan Wingo. But what had happened was Matthew Golden took over, man. He became the guy. He walked into that Xavier-worthy spot for Texas. And when you are transferring in this stage, we are much more likely to ask you questions about not just why you chose to do it, which usually means how much money is involved, but what you were leaving behind. And now that we've seen the Nico Iamaleava situation play out, you're going to see more teams that are referencing that moment when it's not just that you chose to try to hold the program ransom, which is what I think Nico Iamaleava did from a business standpoint. He was threatening to enter the transfer portal at a time when it would hurt Tennessee the most, and they'd be much more likely to pay him what he's not worth. It's also smacks of greed because you're talking about a player that was making $2 million a year, more than that, honestly, because it was a 3-year deal for $8 million in a state with no income tax, like Texas, right? We've also seen a number of states just push through legislation that allows for players who are benefiting from name, image, and likeness to see that money not taxed by the state. Arkansas just did it. It's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Those of us that are regular people still got to pay taxes. Why the hell shouldn't we pay taxes if they're paying taxes? And you know why. We don't play football. We don't play basketball. We don't bring prestige to the university. We don't promote the influx of prospective students. Like there's that question about why is Deion Sanders making as much money as Bill Belichick and more than most of college football? Because that's his worth to Colorado. You could see a marked response in how many people were interested in Colorado football, sure, but also in the University of Colorado, which is where this university makes its money, and it's why you hear for the longest time the football program is the front porch of the university, and its CMO, its chief marketing officer, is usually the head football coach. It's taking another step, right? Because now it needs to become much more of a self-sustaining thing. And I realize this, talking about Isaiah Bond, and I'm going to take it here. If you are able to function as a football program, as an athletic department, without needing the subsidies that come from a university that also wants to have one, you are found money. I mean, I put this at Oklahoma when football was trash. The university was not in a great spot financially. And when David Bourne hired Joe Constiglione, one of the things he had said was, if you guys make money, I'm not going to ask you to give it to me. I'm going to ask you to self-sustain. And it got so good, especially around the 2000 to 2005 era, that the athletic department of Oklahoma was able to subsidize parts of the university, which is how you would draw it up if you're making a business that is profitable. And you get stadium renovations. You get everything else you want. You also get more control inside of what the university is doing and across the state. Colorado, same difference. When I look at Texas, that's what I see. I see a program that can't afford to spend $40 million on a roster if they want to do that. They also are going to say, we're going to pay players that come here out of high school much more frequently and higher than we are players that transfer in. So Isaiah Bond probably didn't even make as much as he would have at at Alabama as he did at Texas. But as the university is investing in football, you're also seeing football become self-sustaining in ways that many people don't see. You look at their stadium renovations. Yeah, it matters. When you can sell your boxes in the 7 figures, right, for 6 home games, and you might have 8 of those, that's not a small number. It's also showing that Texas is thinking about this in the long term. No matter what college football turns into, if it becomes a Super League that many people think it will, or we get into a Premier League situation where it's the Manchester Cities, Liverpools, Arsenals, Manchester Uniteds of the world that are running it, not unlike Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama during the Saban era, Texas now. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't, because we've been playing football for a long time. Been playing football as long as we've been playing soccer, honestly, longer than we've been playing soccer. And we've been surviving through this, and the money continues to roll in. It's about how we disperse the money and what laws we enact to try to induce something that looks like fair play that we're really arguing about. In the middle of all that, there are people that believe somehow that the players are more, shall we say, powerful in the sport, and they're not. Like, they made this mistake with the NBA. You're still an employee. You are a very highly paid and well-paid and valued employee. But the management is the management. And every now and again, they will remind you of that if you lose sight of it. Again, you are part of the team, and nobody's bigger than the team. And that's what Nico Iamaleava learned. And Isaiah Bond learned that his draft stock was not so great as to beat a sexual assault allegation. And the Commanders were able to walk in and offer a guy a job that didn't have one playing football. He probably had other opportunities to go somewhere as an undrafted free agent, but there's a big difference between needing to make a 53-man roster and being a guy that's got a guaranteed sum. If you're first-round draft pick, you got a guaranteed sum. Ask Paxton Lynch how he's doing, okay? I also wanted to get at this from the prank call aspect, because many of you, and there have been a number of other folks have not just said that there were prank calls in 2025 that were to people not named Shedeur Sanders, but that this has been an ongoing thing for years. Some person gets a hold of the call sheet and they think it's funny, right? In this case, it was Jax Ulbrich who thought it was funny to prank call Shedeur Sanders about getting selected by the Falcons. What I found interesting about the Isaiah Bond case is that he was also prank called by a person claiming to be Falcons general manager Terry Fontenot. We don't know who that person is, but we know that the other person that prank called Shedeur also was the son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich at the Atlanta Falcons. The data breach is really the thing, right? You are right to say it's a prank call. You are right to say, what's the big deal for a prank call? But this is not a number that's found in the yellow pages, guys. That's the point here. And you're being obtuse if you're not really going to connect those dots. I always say this about sports talk. If you've got a host that feels like he can make something plain and stupid for you, that's doing a good job. If he says things like, I could write this down on a notepad, on a legal pad, and come to a honest and real rational thought here and an honest and real rational decision, that's not untrue, but you need to take into account the context. You need to take into account the other people involved, the chain of custody, and as far as that data breach is concerned. For instance, it wasn't just the general managers and others that got a hold of these sheets. The IT directors for these these franchises also had them. That Jeff Ulbrich left his iPad in a way in which his kid could get to it doesn't seem to bother you as much, but it does me. That's your work iPad. You're not supposed to allow anybody to see your work iPad save you and the IT director. Is that asking too much? For some of you all it is, but some people get their information stolen, just like Jeff Ulbrich did. It could have been way worse. And if you don't think it could be way worse, ask Michigan about Matt Weiss and what access he got through a third party, we think, and how that has affected not just their reputation, but how people feel about sending their kids to the University of Michigan. Can you safeguard them? I tend to think of it in terms of, is the host someone who is trying to make the point that people are stupid or that you're smart? I think sometimes we assume that people are smarter than they are. I make this mistake often because I don't want to be the arrogant person in the room believing that I'm smarter than the person I'm talking to. But if you demonstrate you're stupid, I'm going to take you at your word too. You don't need to be stupid about this. You understand. You know that to get prank called in this way is not just mean-spirited. It is also a breach of confidentiality and data for which we're trying to protect from other people, namely those that would do us harm in other parts of the world. And if you don't think that there are foreign powers that are interested in the National Football League, you're stupid. And you're stupid because it is the most powerful sport that we have in this country. It's the one that we all revolve around. If you can impact it, you impact us. If you can impact us and destabilize us, we got a problem here. So I just bear that in mind as someone is performing a segment, and I'll perform segments every day. But also, like the person that wants to point out an executive order is not a law, it's not. It's not a law. But in this administration, it's a test of what you can do and a test balloon for what you think you're going to do, because this administration has not been shy about taking on the courts, and they've been winning way more than they have been losing in cases that you know to be about our constitutional rights. Isaiah Bond is just a symptom. Name, image, likeness is just a symptom. If you want to change the system, you got to change and overhaul the entire damn thing.